Thank you everyone for joining us. Day 5, as Olga mentioned, survivors. You are still here. You are here for all 5 days, and we are honored that you joined us. We are, of course, bringing it home today with some post-lab momentum. And let me ask you, have it happened to you that you went to some great experience? Maybe it was physical or virtual like this one. And it was amazing and you got tons of insights and you felt great. And it was just this big feeling. And then few days, maybe a week, maybe 2 weeks, and the event bubble just burst and there is nothing left. If this happened to you, wave or give me a plus that you've experienced the event bubble effect where things are.
We can hear you, Nada.
I
You're the
am trying
host
to
now.
solve the issues. It's just Zoom keeps quitting unexpectedly every time I try to speak. So this is normal, right? This is gonna be our life continuously. So I'm getting all kind of support systems for me to do this on my phone. Super happy to see you all still here and the team present. So here's what happens on a regular basis. This kind of disruption happens all the time. But we picked up what we were talking about right before I disappeared is the event bubble. And this is the same issue that we see with all kind of change and disruption, which is we tend to think about this work as a one-time project. I go to event, there is an end to it. I do one big change, there is an end to it. I have a big push and I'm done with it. And yes, big pushes are necessary, but unless we build the system, remember yesterday we talked about heartbeat with one of our nurses, until we have a regular process, there's a big thing like a lab, and then there is a continuous improvement effort in between the big push. There's some sort of big push and then continuous process in between the push. Unless we build the system, nothing is working well. Everything keeps falling apart. So I want to talk, before I bring my wonderful guests on, a little bit about how do we keep the momentum. So here's what we know from science. The uncertainty, nonstop disruption of this super short cycled world, what we discussed the whole lab. We were trained, we grew up in the world of long cycles. We're now in the world of super short cycles. In a super short cycled world, we need to do the exercise of anticipating, designing, and implementing change ongoing again and again and again, which becomes a question of do we build our own cadence and stick with it? And that science shows few things. Number one, we absolutely need to start thinking in sprints. And this is what I've been repeating with you again and again. As you're working on your own AI portfolio of reinvention, your own AI efforts, you choose a short sprint and you stick with that sprint as an experimental ground. So, can you put in the chat what sprint you are choosing for yourself? As I mentioned, your sprint length and my sprint length will be very different. Some people love short sprints, such as every 2 weeks, I will decide a couple of priorities. I will see what works, and then in 2 weeks, I will review again. Some people like 4 to 6 weeks, kind of a month. Some people like even longer sprints, 2 to 3 months. There is really nobody I know right now who can survive in sprints longer than 3 months. We have to be in a continuous sprint. So I see 1 month, I see monthly. I love that you're all choosing. So number one way to set up your momentum and build your own cadence. Number one thing, choose a sprint length and stick with it, which means you're opening your calendars right now and setting up your next sprint review. And what are you going to review at that review? You will go back to your impact readiness matrix. You will agree that you're focusing only on things in the plus plus category. And for that sprint, this is all you're doing. So number one secret of keeping up the momentum beyond the event bubble, number one thing is your sprint approach. Second thing that we must do is what we already heard during our guest speeches. Stop thinking of these things as decisions. I decided this is what I'm doing on AI. I decided this is what I'm doing with my brand. I decided this is what I'm doing with my team. Stop thinking as decisions and start using the word experiments. It seems like a small, minute difference, but a shift from a decision to experiment is a monumental shift for our mindset. Because what does decision feel like to you? If you say decision, what does decision feel like to you? Put some words around the word decision. Final, permanent, pressure, static, heavy, right? In business, for example, when we speak about decision, irrevocable, set in stone. When we say decision in a board meeting, you're like, oh my goodness, this will be in all records. This will be in meeting minutes. This will be in protocols. This will be, I'm not ready for a decision. Give me another PowerPoint slide. Give me another Excel calculation. Let's do another. It becomes a delay. The word decision has such a finality and weight to it that we cannot play around, and we're creating internal resistance, and we are creating a pushback in ourselves so that we cannot really move forward. If we start saying an experiment, I will run experiment for the next sprint. These are the 2-3 experiments I'm going to run. How does that word feel to you? Right? How does that word feel to you? I'm going to run a few experiments. Open, exciting, doable, possibility. I love that. So this is our important thing. We move from long-term planning to sprints, and we move from decisions to experiments. So it's not my decision failed, is my experiment gave me this many insights, right? This is the learning. If you want to see more about that, some of you already recommended Lean Startup, the book. Another book I love specifically about testing your experiments is Mom's Test. Absolutely love that book. Use it all the time. Mom's Test. How to test your ideas, how to test your experiments without being attached to them. So this is the plan. And by the way, on the background, I'm still trying to see if I can open my Zoom on my computer and get it to work now. So hopefully something will work and my Zoom will start misbehaving, and I'll come back to you on my computer. So number 1, sprints. Number 2, not decisions, experiments. Final thing that is very important is how you set your goals, right? For these experiments, you need to set your goals still. For example, you're using AI to save 1 hour a week or save 4-hour weeks or whatever other goals you want to put. When we set the goal in a way I just mentioned, in absolute numbers, 1 hour, 2 hours, 3 hours, 10%, when we set the goals in absolute numbers, we get the same physical reaction of, oh my goodness, I need to hit this number. And if I don't hit this number, it will be a failure. So instead of setting our numbers in absolute numbers, like 10% savings of time per week with the use of AI help, AI will be my efficiency engine. We don't do that. We set the goal in ranges. For example, my goal is to go from 8 to 12% savings on time. And what research shows is that we actually have 30% more likelihood to hit within this goal than to here. We have excellent research I often cite out of University of Florida that showed the moment we set our goals and ranges, we are in a different reality. So let me see if I can seamlessly move. How is it now? Can you all hear me without echo? Can you all see me on a computer? Yes, maybe it will work, maybe it's not. But this is a part of disruption. So imagine if I was all upset right now. We will lose all the momentum. And that's the goal of our work together, is to become completely comfortable that this will keep happening. Because yes, planes will crash and technology will crash. And yes, we will have technological challenges, or new tariffs will show up, or unfortunately, much more difficult disruptions keep happening, such as violent conflicts. And it's about our ability to self-manage and stay calm within the process and just zoom through it. You guys already participating in the chat so carefully while I'm distracting you, giving each other all kind of useful stuff. So to repeat, how do we stay away from losing momentum? How do we keep the momentum? Number one, sprints. You all chose sprints. Number two, go away from I made the decision, this is my plan around AI, to I have experiments, I'm gonna run this sprint. And number three, we set the goals in ranges. We set the goals in ranges. So our job is not to make a decision forever and ever. Because let me ask you, did this happen to you in the recent past? You had a disruption in the last couple of years. You tried to figure out how to move forward. You found something that worked, and it stopped working for you in about a year or so, maybe even shorter, and you got completely discouraged. If this happened to you, give me a plus or wave. You tried to fix a situation, you found an answer, you tried that answer for a little bit, and about a year, it completely stopped working for you, or even less. This just means you're normal. This just means you're living in a fast moving, very, very fast moving, short cycled world in which the shelf life of your decisions, solutions, answers will be very, very short. But if you don't know it, if you are sitting in the idea that the world is still very, very long, right? If you're still sitting here, what are you saying to yourself? You are saying, I made the wrong choice, or that consultant I hired was wrong and that was a waste of money, or that expert was wrong, or something is wrong with me. Because we think that if the decision didn't work for us in the long run, it's a bad decision. No, it's just the shelf life of that decision will now be 6 to 18 months and tops. In AI, even shorter, it will be a decision for a couple of months, and then you will have to switch to another thing. So unless we do the paradigm shift and we start building continuous reinvention, we will continuously feel like we're a failure because everything fails every few months. So it's something wrong with me. Nothing is wrong with you. You just need a system of continuous renewal. And that's why I'm so, so excited that you are doing your homework. You are showing up across the channels. You showed up in the Telegram channel. You shared reflections. And of course, every time, every day, we're giving awards for people who show up and share incredible insights. So for the final day of the lab, we want to celebrate one more person, Stuart Meister. I hope I pronounced that name correctly. Congratulations, you are the winner of the final giveaway. Thank you so much for all of your insights and takeaways that you share on the Telegram channel throughout the entire lab and keeping the conversation going here. This is exactly what needs to happen. Show up. Give your insights. Don't be passive. Don't just look at these worksheets and say, I will do them tomorrow. If you don't roll up your sleeves and actually do the work, none of this matters. So today, most important thing, set your sprints. Choose the experiments you're going to run in that sprint. Set the goals and ranges. And after the lap, just calmly and peacefully get going. Do we have your plus? Are you committed to making the first sprint? Great. To give you a little bit more juice, to make sure you stay motivated, I have 3 incredible speakers joining me today so that you can see a different journey that they took. We'll go beyond AI. They are welcome to share AI stories as well. But AI was just a practice topic. This time AI, next time we can look at geopolitics, or we can look at tariffs, we can look at supply chain disruption, generational Gen Z, and all other Gen Alpha disruptions. We can focus on different topics. So it doesn't matter which topic, but they all have very, very different journeys. So it's my pleasure to bring to the stage our incredible guest speakers. With me, I have Andrew Roble from the UK. I have Edward Holiday from the US. And let me find Sally. Let me make sure I can see Sally. Sally Acton from the South Africa for me. And she disappeared again. Yay! Technology works. Welcome, welcome, welcome. So happy to see you all.
Hi, Nadia. Hi, everyone.
So, here's my first question for you. Let's start philosophically. We were very narrow from the beginning of the lab, looking at specific disruption, which is artificial intelligence. But if we zoom out a little bit and look at the philosophy, all of you, of course, are certified reinvention professionals, so you know my answer to this question, and I never give a straight answer. I have 25 different answers. But I want to hear your answer. What is reinvention for you? Andrew, let's start with you. What's reinvention for you?
Sure. Hi, everyone. It's fantastic to be here. So I'll just give you two words, really. For me, reinvention is really about future relevance. So what I do practically every day right now is either to ask myself, is it going to work, for my company in the next couple of months or years? Or for myself, is it going to be relevant, in the next couple of months, or is it going to be important in the next couple of months or years?
I love that. Future relevance. It's a strategy to assure future relevance. I love that. Edwards, what about you? What is reinvention for you?
Thank you, Nadia. More life in the system and less death in the system.
Woohoo! The graduates know that I always speak about the only criteria that matters. You can do everything by the book. You can use every tool correctly. At the beginning of the warm-up, Olga asked about our favorite tools, and many alumni use the Stellar Agile Strategy Canvas or the Reinvention Compass or any different tool. You can know the tools, use the tools, but if you don't meet one criteria, which is the system became more alive as a result, you have failed. And that is the only thing that matters. Love that. Sally, what about you? What's reinvention for you?
Well, Andrew limited us to two words. So mine would be immune system, actually. So for me, it's how we stay healthy, hopeful, adaptive, and aligned to a moving world without losing our core. And that for me is so important.
Oh, love that. Future relevance, life in a system, and the immunity, organizational or individual immunity in the volatility environment we're in. Love those definitions. Of course, for the whole community, as you're listening, add your definitions in the chat. But I want to dive into your stories. All of you are practicing reinvention professionals, and you all do different things. And the way you approach it is very different. So I would love to hear your story. Sally, we will go in the opposite direction. I'll start with you. What is your favorite reinvention case from your own practice from the recent years?
Thanks, Nadia. I think just to frame it, most organizations that we work with don't necessarily just have a strategy problem. They have a sense-making problem, a decision problem, or an execution problem. And most of the cases that I work with, and I've worked a lot recently in both manufacturing and large financial institutions, is actually about helping them have a look at what's going on. So I use the reinvention portfolio quite a lot as the lens into the organization. So I use it to diagnose what's happening in the organization and then to look at where are we experimenting, where are we protecting continuity, and where are we stuck in zombie projects that actually just need a decent burial. So there's been some big successes in that, in just being able to bring in that filter and then being able to prioritize where we go in the organization. So banking, manufacturing, this has been a game changer to really help the organization get a sense of what's going on, so we can move away from the sense of busyness to actual productivity, the things that add impact and meaning into organizations. Thanks.
Love that. Absolutely love that. So myself, I started in massive work in banking and finance sector post 2008 crisis. That's where we shot up as at that point, crisis agency. And then it became known as a reinvention agency. But manufacturing is in a heavy, heavy priority right now. Edwards, what about you? What's your favorite reinvention case right now? And which tools are helping you the most?
We have three markets. Two are very primary. One is a smaller one. Special operators that are transitioning out of the U.S. military from all branches getting jobs in the private sector. We're part of that foundation, and helping them to reinvent their careers and really understand, that through their stories, even the S curves, that now this is a new idea, and helping them to appreciate their strengths. Appreciative inquiry kind of comes into this, to be able to give themselves permission to be able to talk about themselves in a whole new way, because they're just not used to. So there's a lot of attitude changes. There's certainly new behaviors and new skills that they've never had to do before. And we're using a variety of tools that come from the reinvention toolkit. The other one are private wealth advisors, and we're on the platform as an improved coaching firm for UBS and Morgan Stanley, and I work with very large private wealth teams, and they are always hungry for more, and they're growing, and they have problems, and they've got to adapt. And technology is changing extremely fast when it comes to with AI, and they're going to have to reinvent themselves over and over again, and they realize that. And what I've seen is that they kind of reach different levels of production or team size, and sometimes that's as far as they go. But if they want to keep going, really to build enterprise value, they have to see things in a new way and be willing to change. And I use something as simple as just the reinvention curves to talk about, where are you? Are you on the up? Are you at the top? Or are you headed on the way down? And what's going to happen if we don't turn that around again?
Mm-hmm. And it's surprising how often the simplest of tools are the ones that keep coming back again and again. Gary mentioned on Wednesday that the 75-6 exercise, which is just rules of the game in one world and rules of the game in another world. He recently had something like, 38 slides and spent a whole day on one slide, which is that one, because the implications are so deep. And if you facilitate it carefully, you pretty much changing the entire makeup of the company if you're ready to facilitate and go deeper. So I love, love, love. Andrew, I know you had a big reinvention happening last year, and I would love to know, where was your agency before, where is it now, and why you made that big shift. And of course, that reflects a shift in your client portfolio as well.
Yes, so thank you very much, Nadia, for this question. When we look back 2 years ago, our organization was really focused on Central and Eastern Europe. But over the years, we kind of worked on a number of different markets, from Mexico to Korea as well. And once I completed my CRP program, we had a bunch of different discussions, including the faculty and so on. And we decided to finally go through a big rebrand. So the organization has changed not only the name, but also the scope of activities. As a result, I'm super happy to say that we almost doubled the revenues last year in 2025, which was incredible. But also, I think what we gained is a lot of clarity and focus. And I think that is helping us build things for the future, and also keep this life in the system, because that has also translated into how we design our products. That, for example, there's always a number of different revenue streams coming from one product. So that has been a fantastic result of the reinvention program.
And can you just name what was the brand before and what's the
Sure.
brand, so everyone can look up?
Sure. So the brand before was called Emerging Europe, which is not. I mean, we didn't fully abandon this, because we still run a website, but the whole consultancy area, capacity building, because that is something that we developed a lot over the last year. That is called Reinvantage now.
And that's a big question for everyone who joins right now as a consultant, coach, trainer, expert. Put a plus in the chat if that is you. Consultants, coaches, trainers, experts, whether it's your full-time or it's a side story to your
And I guess we are losing Nadia again, guys. Let's wait until she comes back. And we've been putting pluses in the chat if you're a consultant, coach, or trainer, join here. And probably Sally, Andrew, or Edwards, you want to add more? Sally,
Sure.
go ahead.
Very, very happy to. I think what else, and I'm sure Edwards and Andrew have the same, the same pieces. I think that there's such amazing energy that starts to flow when you start to use a lot of the tools and you bring in simple concepts for people to be able to use in their organizations. Going back to Stella, I mean, for me, that is just the backbone of how we translate company strategy, divisional priorities, individual goals. We even use it for performance management, with my background rather being in employee experience. And that's really become, I think, for a lot of our clients, the strategic cascade sanity check, if we can call it that. Because if someone can't connect their daily work to the strategic North Star through Stella, then it's a diagnostic flag that the system and not the person needs adjusting. So I think just using really simple ways to visualize complex organizational trends has been such a great thing for me to be able to bring into organizations. Andrew, I'm not sure how you have found that.
Well, I'm going to add one thing because, we're talking about Stellar, which is an amazing tool. But for someone who is starting their journey with reinvention, I would even recommend doing Impact Readiness, which is a fantastic tool. I just a few months ago, I ran a reinvention sprint with a location in one of the countries in Central and Eastern Europe, and this was such a revelation for the team. Because they somehow thought that they always had to have a lot of money to do simple things, but it turned out that they have internal capacity to deliver so many different things because and that tool simply uncovered that, helped them understand that they have that with them or in them already.
Absolutely love that you guys can keep going and take over this. Please keep doing this. This is great. Whatever is happening with my technology, this is the best thing that happened, is to keep watching you in your element. But absolutely, it's not about specific tools. It is about, first and foremost, having a framework, a kind of underground paradigm and a framework in your head. And the most beautiful thing that all of you have showed is that framework is inclusive of all the other tools, philosophies, books, and so on that were still relevant for the volatile times. Many people ask me, I'm already working with Alexander Osterwilder's frameworks around business model innovation, explore, exploit. And I'm like, I love Alex. He spoke at our last summit. Of course, it's about integrating. So anticipating change. This would be scenario planning tools. This would be all kind of future thinking, forecasting tools. And we even have exercises where we help you map which tools are still relevant here and which tools from Reinvention Academy should be used here. Decision making, the designing change step. Still using design thinking heavily. Why not? Still thinking Bono the six thinking hats. Why not? Still thinking whole bunch of other decision tools. And same with implementation, Scrum Agile, of course. Standards on project management, of course. So it's not throwing out tools that didn't work. It's connecting them into one integrated system. Sally, you're showing so beautifully how that works. Can you elaborate on that as well?
Sorry, this is my passion subject. Yeah, I think that's the big thing, is there's so many great ways of thinking and so many different tools to be able to, even something like as simple as jobs theory, understanding the job that needs to be done for your client, for your person, really getting to that, understanding that piece, and then integrating that with saying, so now how do we reinvent this job to make it more relevant to different markets? How do we reinvent the mindset to be able to offer different solutions or products necessarily, or just different ways of being in this world? So I think there's that element as well, because you can apply it to the person. So how do we build adaptability, but how we can also use it for a massive, I use it in organizations that are 30 to 80,000 people, you know. So I think that for me is the power. It's the range that you can do. So yeah, it is my passion subject.
Love that. Edwards, let me throw back one more question, and I will start with you, which is for those people for whom this is their first event, and they're like, reinvention, what? How is this different from innovation or strategy? What's going on here? It's day 5. What tools, acronyms, whole bunch of stuff is happening. When you're just starting out, take yourself back to your first reinvention touch point. Maybe you came to the lab. Maybe you saw me speak at some event. I actually don't know how you came into the system. But take yourself back to that moment you were just trying to wrap your head around this a new field of management, at this point already recognized as a field of management, integrative field of management that brings together strategy, innovation, and change. What would be your number one advice? Looking back where you were, what would you tell to yourself those many years ago, and what would the advice you give to the people here?
I'd like to offer first a context. I also saw a question in the chat that I want to address that somebody asked. That's fair. And so the context is that I'm a high theoretical thinker naturally. My personal anthem is forward-thinking creativity. That's my answer when someone says, what makes you different? I had that before I came to reinvention. It's just a product. It's one of the things we help our clients define when they're doing marketing. So I'm already a believer. I'm already a buyer. I'm already like, well, of course, I'd love that. And so more is better, right? I just can't help myself. And so you can obviously see that maybe between chaos and stability in the cycle, I just live in the chaos world, and I can actually use a little more stability, which I really came to respect. The discipline, the precision, the slowing down, the not overwhelming people, because I'm very good at causing disruption and asking questions. So there's a cartoon that hangs on my wall I got out of the New Yorker magazine, February of 1989. Is when the cartoon was published. I started my business that same year in June. Didn't realize that the cartoon was going to completely define my entire practice. And it's a single panel, 2 little kids in a sandbox in the park. And the one saying to the other, I don't have all the answers yet, but I'm beginning to ask the right questions. And that defines kind of my primary job as a facilitator, as a coach. It's all about what reinvention is, asking the right question at the right time and having the courage to be willing to answer it. And so the question was in the chat that I like to address is, okay, back up a second. So I don't know, I got a Facebook something or LinkedIn, probably attend the free workshop. That's what I do. And then I attend it. And it's like, well, duh, this is something that obviously is great. And so I just signed up. That's how I buy. I don't waste a lot of time when it's obvious to me. I proposed to my wife 2 weeks after I met her. I made a decision to buy a franchise to be in this business 37 years ago in a 2-week decision. And so this is kind of how I roll. Not everybody should do that. I'm not recommending that. Anyway, the question was, how do you assess where somebody is on the reinvention curve? I mentioned that. And for the financial advisor teams, we have a very thorough team internal survey that we put together, which is kind of like a Titanic syndrome, a bunch of other things. And this is the important thing. All team members contribute to it. Everybody's voice from a scoring system, plus fill in the blank and write your comments. And then we do that anonymously. We print one report. Everybody gets it. We go through it together. And you see where people are coming from. I think this is great. I think this is really terrible. How could they have different points of view? Somebody in the group is always thinking further ahead than the rest of the team. The reinvention is already there. And then I find out where the resistance is, right? So that's my answer to one of the questions that was asked. So with that, I'll pause.
I love that. So advice that I'm getting out of Edwards is it's not about knowing the answers, because those answers are fleeting anyway with the shelf life today. It's about the quality of decision making thanks to your questions and the sequence of questions and tools. And that's what the tools are all about. It's sharpening the decision making. It's not replacing anything. So love that. It's not about knowing the answers. It's about seeing the right questions and then managing the process in the best way. Andrew, what would be your advice for somebody who is just first time at the lab or maybe second, just orienting themselves? What should they do?
number one would be the mindset and anything coming with that. But I think, more specifically, try to try to grow your curiosity and think how what your agency looks like. Because if you are curious, you will find a way of, finding more answers that will apply in your situation. And when you say, okay, I can do it, I have the capabilities, you are able to also find your answers at some point. So I think I would definitely look at those two, curiosity and agency, and apply those two.
Absolutely love that. Agency is emerging as the defining factor in the next couple of years. What we're learning is that surprisingly, so many of us lost our agency in the process, the same process of uneducation that happened around change. Again, no conspiracy. You just didn't need much agency in the world that is not changing. Why do you need this inner capacity to make your own choices in the world that stays the same for 30 years? You need the agency in the world that is uncertain and unclear, this capacity to choose your own path, to not live with pre-existing answers and be the victim of somebody else's choices. And today, if you don't run the future, you are on the menu. I love that phrase from the Canadian Prime Minister talk at Davos that I shared on LinkedIn. If you don't have the seat at the table, you are on the menu. If you don't have the seat at the table, you are on the menu. And that is not just for countries or companies, it's for each one of us. Do I have a seat at the table when I'm working with a client? Do I have a seat at the table? Is my voice heard when I'm working with a team and facilitating? And if I don't, I am at the mercy of trends, somebody else's decisions, somebody else's fears, somebody else's assumptions. So it's about having a seat at the table, choosing to sit down at the table so that you're not eaten by a fleeting trend or somebody else's choice. Sally, somebody who's just starting with reinvention, they've never been here before, they're still trying to make sense how this all fit in. What would be your number one advice?
My number one advice would be to practice, to start getting in, use the thing, build the muscle, just take it day by day and start actually doing and building reinvention into your thinking and your ways of doing it. For me, the practical application is the game changer. Thanks, Nadia.
Yeah, make it happen. Keep doing. I have a final question that I didn't plan to ask you, so I'm putting you on the spot, but we are here all experts for hire, consultants, coaches, trainers. There are different packaging we put on our names, fractional executives, whatever is the name you choose. And it's very clear our industry is in transition. If there's anything that is in the middle of reinvention, it's definitely our industry. So in a couple of sentences, what is that you see changing in our industry and how do we prepare? Andrew, let's start with you.
Well, I think it's something that we need to change our mindset when it comes to looking at how we can help companies. And it's not really giving the content saying, oh, this should be done. We need to actually roll up our sleeves and work with our clients and deliver the process for them. And disruptions like AI, this is something that will change a lot of things for us. And just to give you a funny example, we over the last 2 months, we redesigned our project management app ourselves, just using Lovable, doing vibe coding. And none of us, not a single person on our team has tech, background, but we were able to do that. So you have to look at things like that and see in your specific situation how they can impact and make sure that you are ahead of that.
Beautiful. So we absolutely will share our top picks for AI tools on the Telegram channel over the weekend, and Lovable is definitely making its place on the list. But the most important thing is it's not about, I give you one static answer. It's working with our clients. Love it. Sally, what about you? What's changing in the consulting, coaching, training industry, and what should we do?
I think the one thing I'm seeing a lot is that you really have to be able to connect your value directly to the value that the client experiences. There's a much, I guess, slower or less tolerance for any kind of bulky consulting. If you cannot prove how this will have direct impact on the end customer, you've got a much harder sell. And I think, sorry, I'm being greedy. I'm giving two, but the other one that I'm seeing is that there's a lot more work that's coming up around, Taleb calls it via negativa, the art of taking away. And I think a lot of organizations and a lot of consultants are coming in and helping people take away. There's almost like a pandemic of busyness. So we're mistaking motion for action and going in as a consultant and actually helping to cut away. And for me, reinvention is so perfectly positioned for that. But that's definitely the two big shifts that I've seen. Yeah.
Love that. Well, thank you all so much for joining me and carrying us through as my Zoom keeps crashing on my laptop. You've been amazing. Huge hugs to all flying to UK, here in the US and South Africa. I'm super excited to be in South Africa this September and October and hug you in person for the Reinvention Fest and all kind of other things we're doing. Thank you guys so much and appreciate you taking time. Have a great, great weekend. Thank you. So now we're going to try to wrap up the lab with you without the computer and without the slides. We have a whole bunch of slides prepared, but I will do just solo work looking at your beautiful faces, as I can still do that on the computer, on my phone. So here's the takeaways that I hope you get out of this. Number one, we went from 75-year cycles for a typical organization to about 2 to 3 now. That is not a little shift. Essentially, everything is changing. Everything is changing when we go from rare to often. From this happens to me every 20 years to this happens to me only every few 2 to 6 months. This is fundamental shift. It's almost like we used to be driving on the solid road, and now we need to shift into manning a boat and build a boat while we are simultaneously dealing with the flood and the earthquake and everything around. And there is one way of looking at it as a horror story, which is, I hate this. This is not what I signed up for. I was trained to be stable and predictable, to be an expert in something. I was trained to have deep, narrow knowledge. I was trained to bring my diplomas with me. Who needs my diplomas now? You can look at it as an unfair. You can look at it as a danger. You can look at it as an annoyance, or you can look at it as facts are friendly, reality here to help me. And this is one of the greatest opportunities of my life. And this is what I want to concentrate on. If you're in a corporate environment and you feel like your career is shaky, you're looking at the news and they announce again that Amazon just fired 16,000 people, or UPS just fired, and the big waves of corporate firing are happening, and you are not sure what career is. Reinvention is there to stop thinking of your career as your identity and start thinking of your career as a product, not identity. Because if you think of your career as an identity, the moment your career is shaky, your identity is shaky. Something is wrong with me. Nothing is wrong with you. You are unshakable, and we can build this personal strategy for you that is immutable to any change. But it means stop thinking of your career as an identity. I am my job, and start thinking of your career as a product. If you're in a corporate environment, that also means your job can come and go, but your skill set, your capabilities are actually increasing the value and worth of you on the market. And that's what reinvention is here to do, to make sure you build career immunity and you continuously increase your worth on the market. For those of you who are consultant coaches, trainers, my message to you, this is your hottest opportunity. You notice Accenture renamed all 800,000 of the employees reinventors. PwC launched a reinvention practice. McKinsey just published their reinvention model, a crappy model, but they still jumping on reinvention bandwagon. Financial Times just announced reinvention champions. What's good for us, we are now can compete with all of them. Because in the past, they were doing billable hours based on things AI can do now in 2 minutes. And we were teaching ourselves how to have political intelligence, emotional intelligence, how to be nimble and adaptive. So now I can take on McKinsey and Accenture because there is an even playing and an equal opportunity. I've seen incredible stories where a big house was not able to be adaptive and a smaller or even a solo entrepreneur was able to come in and get a much better offer in. So this is for me a time to level up. For all of us universally, research is pretty clear. About 17% of businesses go bankrupt in a typical crisis, about 17. But a much more interesting number, about 10% of companies go up in a typical crisis. Their revenues are higher, their net profit is higher, their customer satisfaction is higher, their employee satisfaction and quality of life is higher. I don't want you to be in the bottom 17%. This lab is here to make sure that you learn how to be in the top 10%. And the top 10% understand volatility is here to stay. So now is the time to monetize on it. Now is the time to survive and monetize volatility, not hide away or pretend it's temporary. So I would love to see in the chat your most important takeaways from the whole experience. And from my end, of course, it's not the end for us. We are just starting our spring season. So if this work excites you, if you felt like home during this experience, our biggest invitation is to consider one of the opening programs. Our next program is the Certified Reinvention Practitioner Program, and it's our flagship experience. So before I say any features of that program, the most important thing I would love for you to do is to schedule a call with our alumni and see if that is the program for you. Certified Reinvention Practitioner is unique because number one, you are doing live learning. For 7 weeks, we meet on Tuesdays with people from all over the world, some of the smartest people in the room. And we work in teams to help ourselves reinvent, to help our practices reinvent, and to help our clients to reinvent. We have a corporate track, and this time we had people from very different companies, fast-moving consumer goods, pharma, banking, and we have a consulting coaching trainer track, and we mix and match so you learn from two sides as well. 7 weeks live, and after the live event, you do a project and have a one-on-one coaching consulting call where we all jump in and we give you our best advice. We had people who learned at that call an idea. I remember Charles, for example, from UK. At that call, one of the coaches floated the idea, one of the faculty members or perhaps classmates floated the idea that he should come back to military as his market. And in a matter of just few weeks, he closed the deal for 150 plus workshops just because it was a whole new, fresh idea. So yes, you get live coaching. Yes, you get a project. But on top of that, you're spending time with some of the most amazing community. And our biggest thing, all of our tools are licensed for life. All of our tools are licensed for life. Once you get the license, you can use it whichever way you want. You don't need to come back to recertify. You don't need to pay us per use. You don't need to pay us per participant. You are the co-owner of this story with us. So we would love for you to check out the website, get all the details. Jump on a call, get your questions answered. If it's program for you, you're welcome. If it's not a program for you, absolutely no question. Come back to another lab, use some of our other resources, consider other places, but don't give up. Keep building your reinvention muscle because God knows in this century we will all need it. And as I'm closing, let me say a few personal things. How did it all start for me? I was in a comfortable job in Slovene Alps, in executive education only business school with a fancy title. I just did a conference for the Queen of England, met her personally and her husband and her Minister of Sustainability. Had a fancy experiences, dinners, and everything you can imagine. And I was a keynoter at a big event. And after the event, other keynoters, among them a EU commissioner, which is one of the ministers of Europe, a couple of big business people and scientists, people were sitting around the table. And there was a lovely lady next to me on the right, who, you know, how at the dinners we all have kind of a polite networking chit chat, nothing deep is going on. But she turned to me in front of everyone and said, "Do you actually have hope? Do you actually have hope?" And suddenly the mood shifted in the conference completely. And the dinner conversation went silent. And one by one around the dinner, each one of us shared our insights from our respective area of expertise. And as the circle was complete, we all agreed, that was around 2011, 2012. We all agreed that when it comes to fundamental disruptions, whether it's access to water, weather patterns, war and peace, monetary disruptions, how our monetary system works, legal and regulatory disruptions, what we call government and how it functions, and what we call international law and how it functions. We all agreed that when it comes to fundamental disruptions, we no longer prevent them. We're too late. That this will be a century where it will happen. And I was sitting there, and my daughter was about 7 or 8. And I was thinking, this is her century. And this is what we are giving to her. And right there, I decided that if we can no longer do prevention, there is one more thing we can do. We can do adaptation. If we cannot prevent a disruption, we still can adapt to what's happening. And that's how reinvention movement was born. The idea was that if last century literacy meant reading, writing, counting, this century reinvention must become a basic literacy skill of every single one of us. So that's why the mission of Reinvention Academy was 1 billion of us. And we just crossed our first million. And you're welcome as this new part of a movement because you are now part of that 1 billion count. Because whether you come and study with us, or this is the last time we ever see you, you now carry that seed and you can share it with your friends, with your children, with your colleagues, with your clients, and you can build a world that is much more ready to face any disruption that comes our way. I don't say it lightly. I come from a country that collapsed. I know what it looks like when the country was there and suddenly there is no police, there is no government, there is no monetary system, there is no currency. Kazakhstan had no currency for almost 3 years. We lived on other people's currency, trying to figure out how to live. I know what collapse looks like. And the good news, what's on the other side of collapse? If we choose a better version of ourselves, if we choose better version of our products, if we choose better version of our companies, and if we choose better version of our world. So my invitation to make that choice, keep pushing, keep using the tools, make sure that this does not become a fluke event that you will look back and say, yeah, that was interesting. Use one tool, but use it regularly. Reinvention is not a one-time event. It's like taking a shower. So use it again and again. And we will have another lab in March. So my big request to all of you, today, share a post on LinkedIn on your top 3 takeaways and invite people to join the lab. You can give that gift to them and you can give that gift to yourself of building your own reflections and your own brand as the new reinvention superstar. With that, huge thank you to all the guests. Huge thank you to my team. Huge hugs to all of you. And it's my honor to share this 5 days with you. Thank you so, so much for joining us for the lab. Big love. Have an amazing weekend and see you very, very soon. Bye, everyone.